Vampires in the 1980s? Oh, they weren't here to sparkle or fall in love in gloomy high schools. This was the era of fog machines, punk rock bloodsuckers, leather jackets, and neon-soaked nightclubs. From interstellar succubi to biker vamps, with a taste for mischief, the 80s gave us a glorious, genre-bending era of vampire cinema that was weird, wild, and absolutely unforgettable. Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master, and today we're counting down the top 10 vampire movies of the 80s. Cult classics you absolutely need to watch, rewatch, or rediscover if you're a fan of fang-filled horror. So grab your garlic, turn down the lights, and let's sink our teeth into this bloody good list.
Nie możemy zmienić tego, kim jesteśmy. Kim jesteś?
Dance of the Damned, 1989. Let's kick things off with a forgotten gem that doesn't get nearly enough love. Dance of the Damned is a vampire movie for people who like their horror slow, moody, and strangely beautiful. It's basically a two-hander between a suicidal stripper and a centuries-old vampire, both emotionally drained, both yearning for something more in life, or, in his case, unlife. There's no gothic castle, no wild blood feasts, just two broken people talking through the night. It's melancholic, intimate, and surprisingly deep. It explores what immortality really feels like when all you want is to stop feeling anything at all. It's like if Before Sunrise had fangs. If you're looking for a thoughtful take on vampire loneliness and existential dread, Dance of the Damned is a quiet but powerful watch.
His life. You were bitten by this woman, were you not? I'm not a vampire.
My Best Friend is a Vampire, 1987. Teen vampire comedies had a moment in the 80s, and this one is one of the quirkiest of them all. My Best Friend is a Vampire follows Jeremy, your average high school kid who wakes up one day with a thirst for blood and a mentor who's basically the vampire version of Mr. Miyagi. It's Teen Wolf meets The Lost Boys, with a dash of weird science thrown in. This one's all about metaphor. Vampirism as a stand-in for teenage angst, sexual awakening, and not quite fitting in. It's campy in all the right ways, and surprisingly ahead of its time, with a progressive tone that doesn't lean on tired tropes. Bonus points for including vampire hunters, who are so hilariously out of their depth, they feel like they wandered in from another movie entirely.
Appointment with you is Tuesday afternoon.
I'd like to make it sooner.
Vampire's Kiss, 1988. Okay, buckle up. This is the Nicolas Cage loses his mind and eats a cockroach movie. You've probably seen clips even if you haven't seen the film. And trust me, nothing prepares you for the full ride. In Vampire's Kiss, Cage plays a neurotic literary agent who believes he's becoming a vampire after an intense, seductive encounter. But is he actually transforming or just unraveling mentally? That question is never fully answered, and that's what makes this film so unnerving. This is a psychological horror masquerading as a vampire movie, or maybe the other way around. Cage's performance is completely unhinged, swinging wildly from tragic to terrifying to meme-worthy. It's not your typical vampire flick. It's weird, it's bold, it's disturbing, and it might just be Cage's most iconic meltdown on screen, which is saying something. Vamp, 1986. Now this one, pure vibes. Vamp is a horror comedy drenched in neon, set in a sleazy strip club where the dancers are actual vampires, led by the hypnotic Grace Jones. She barely speaks in the film, but she doesn't need to. Her performance is a mix of silent menace and avant-garde stage art. You can't look away. This movie is what happens when you toss a vampire flick, a frat comedy, and a music video into a blender and hit puree. It's weirdly stylish, totally offbeat, and just sleazy enough to feel dangerous. The color palette, straight out of a comic book. The mood, surreal. The story, college bros accidentally pick the worst club in the city. Vamp doesn't always make sense, but it's never boring. It's the kind of movie you stumble across at midnight and then text your friends about the next day like, what did I just watch? Lifeforce, 1985. Tobe Hooper, the man behind the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, took a hard left turn with this one. Lifeforce is what happens when you take Dracula and blast him into outer space. Literally, it's about a crew of astronauts who bring home a mysterious woman in a glass coffin from a derelict alien ship. and she turns out to be a psychic space vampire who drains people's life force. Naturally, all hell breaks loose. This movie is insane. There's full-on citywide vampiric mayhem, psychic battles, and naked space vampires causing an apocalypse. It's sexy, scary, and kind of absurd, in the best way. Think Dracula meets Invasion of the Body Snatchers with a dash of 2001 AA Space Odyssey. Critics didn't know what to do with it, but horror fans, we eat this kind of madness up.
Perverse, riveting. The Hunger.
The Hunger, 1983, high fashion, art house horror, and one of the most goth openings of all time. The Hunger is pure cinematic seduction. Starring Catherine Deneuve, David Bowie, and Susan Sarandon, this film is all about eternal love, lust, and the slow decay of immortality. It's elegant, moody, and drenched in velvet shadows. And that opening scene? Bauhaus performing Bela Lugosi's Dead in a club as Deneuve and Bowie hunt for victims? Iconic. Absolutely iconic. This isn't a jump scare movie. It's a slow, stylish descent into obsession and doom. If you like your vampires chic and tragic, The Hunger is a must-watch.
The Monster Squad.
The Monster Squad, 1987. Let's bring in a little fun. The Monster Squad is The Goonies meets Dracula, a childhood adventure with a horror twist. A group of misfit kids discovers that Dracula is real, and he's teaming up with Frankenstein's monster, the Mummy, the Gill Man, and the Wolfman to take over the world. But these kids, they've got stakes, monster knowledge, and zero chill. And yes, the Wolfman does have nards. This movie is a love letter to the classic Universal monsters, repackaged for an 80s audience with humor, heart, and just the right amount of spooky vibes. It's not just a nostalgic throwback, it still holds up as a genuinely entertaining monster mash.
Near Dark.
Near Dark, 1987. Forget castles and coffins. Near Dark brings vampires into the American heartland. Directed by Kathryn Bigelow. Before she won Oscars, Near Dark is a gritty vampire western that ditches capes for cowboy boots. It follows a young man who gets pulled into a nomadic vampire clan after falling for one of their members. These vampires are drifters, outlaws, predators of the highways. They sleep in vans, bar hop for victims, and stay one step ahead of the law. Bill Paxton steals the show as the unhinged Severin. His bar massacre scene is pure horror gold. This movie is dusty, dirty, and absolutely dripping with atmosphere. It didn't make much noise when it came out, but it's now considered one of the best vampire films ever made, and for good reason. Fright Night, 1985. This movie is what happens when you take classic vampire tropes and give them a slick, self-aware 80s upgrade. Fright Night follows Charlie Brewster, a horror-loving teen who realizes his new neighbor is a vampire. No one believes him, so he recruits a washed-up TV horror host, Peter Vincent, to help him fight the undead. It's got everything. Creepy basements, practical effects, seductive vampires, and a killer score. Chris Sarandon plays the charming but deadly vampire next door, while Roddy McDowall brings real depth as the reluctant monster slayer. The film knows it's part of a long tradition of vampire stories, and it pays tribute while carving out its own legacy. It's funny, it's scary, and it's one of the most beloved cult horror films of the decade. The Lost Boys, 1987. And finally, we come to the king of 80s vampire movies. The Lost Boys isn't just a film, it's a moment. Stylish, sexy, and endlessly quotable. It redefined vampire cool for an entire generation. Set in a California beach town with a vampire biker gang tearing up the boardwalk, the movie follows two brothers who realize the town's hottest kids are actually bloodsuckers. The cast? Iconic. Jason Patric, Kiefer Sutherland, Corey Haim, Corey Feldman. The soundtrack? Perfect. INXS, Echo and the Bunnymen, and that epic saxophone guy. Director Joel Schumacher infused the film with MTV energy and gothic flair. It's part teen comedy, part horror flick, and part glam rock fantasy, and somehow it all works. The Frog Brothers alone are worth the price of admission. The Lost Boys made vampires cool, rebellious, and weirdly romantic. It didn't just reflect the 80s, it defined the decade's vampire aesthetic.
Mom, no! Mom!
Our nerdy thoughts. So there you have it, the top 10 vampire movies of the 80s. From space succubi and existential bloodsuckers to punk rock predators and teenage horror fans, this decade didn't just play with the genre, it reimagined it. These movies were loud, experimental, and often way ahead of their time. Whether you're here for the gothic style, the twisted comedy, or the gritty realism, the 80s delivered vampires like no other era. Which of these films is your favorite? Did we miss one of your cult classics? Let us know in the comments, give us a thumbs up if you love horror, and don't forget to subscribe to your nerdy show for more deep dives into the movies that bite back. Until next time, stay spooky, and remember, never invite a vampire into your house. It renders you powerless.
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.